You guys probably didn't think you'd be getting medical advice on our midweek recordings, especially with regard to vasectomies, but you do. It's just another benefit of this podcast. We are well rounded, we are diverse, dynamic, and we will talk all things life, contraception, tools, business, mental health, whatever it is, we will talk about it here. What's up? How's it going? Coming at you with another midweek. We're on number 23 now. Once a week, 23, 4 weeks in a month. That's like almost 6 months of doing this. Still enjoying it. Hope you guys are enjoying it. Let me know if you are not, if there's something I could change, if there's something you would like better. Would love your input. Always appreciate constructive criticism. I have cat hair and dog hair all over my microphone. Anything that I could do to help you guys out, let me know. I'm trying to make this. Obviously, this is a lot of my time between writing these blog posts and then recording these podcasts. So I would like them to be as valuable to you as they are to me. So if there's something that I could change that would work better for you, please let me know so I can make that change or start structuring this differently, so that it works well for you. I've been enjoying it. It's been good. It's been fun. It's presented some new opportunities for me. Again, we're looking to build our own home. We're starting that process and the approval process. It'll probably be a year or so before we are ready to put a shovel into the ground. So it's going to be a while, but I'm looking forward to documenting this through this channel, through my own business channel, a little bit through my personal channel, and including all of you guys. So again, if there's something that you want to see from me or questions you have, something that you would especially like me to document, just reach out and let me know. First one of the day, LaCroix coconut. You guys know I don't drink, so I'll enjoy a seltzer. Plus, I'm not driving. I had surgery yesterday. All went well. It was surgery to prevent any conception of children. I guess it's a contraceptive surgery. So it's been on the table to do for a while. My wife, she's on birth control, has been for a long time, but it's really just not necessary, and she has issues with it. So it was time for me to get this done. If any of you guys are apprehensive about it, to be completely honest, it was a breeze. I would say out of 10, the worst of the pain was maybe a 1, and it was very limited. I believe that the worst pain of it was when they put the local anesthesia or numbing. It felt like I was getting burnt or zapped with the laser. Other than that, it was a little bit uncomfortable. Recovery so far has been fine. A little pressure, nothing major. But if you guys are holding off or waiting, knock on wood, I have not had any issues. I got it done yesterday around 3, so it's been 24 hours exactly. It's 3:08. I was probably just sliding into my doctor's chair now yesterday. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. But if you've been putting it off, I put it off for a while, and there's really nothing to worry about. It was super simple procedure. Did it right in the doctor's office. Walked in, walked out within the hour. And I mean, obviously it's a little bit uncomfortable. I had a female doctor, a female nurse, and then they brought a younger girl in to shadow. And I was like, wow, this must be so much more awkward for you than it is for me. But it was nice. We were playing, they had a Tina Turner playlist on. They were asking me about what I do for a living. I told them about my podcast, and they're asking me what my company name is. And other than the awkwardness of that, which was pretty awkward, and I've spent a lot of time sitting on a table having something uncomfortable done to me, getting tattooed since I was 23 years old. So for the past 15 years. And I usually am the type to just close my eyes and zone out and go to my happy place, or just try and remain alive and not go to my dark place. and they wanted to talk. So the whole procedure, I sat there is probably about half hour, 40 minutes. They sat there and talked to me, and then got me all set up, put me in a jock strap, sent me on my way home. I'm going to take today off, probably tomorrow off. I'm starting a new job on Monday. So Friday, I'll have to start getting some things together, but I'm going to try and take it easy. I'm already bored out of my mind. So I'm going to do a couple more midweek podcasts, try and remain um, as immobile as possible. It's really hard. I have trouble sitting still. I just want to get out and do stuff. So I'm trying to take it easy so that I don't prolong this any longer than need be. But they said within a week, everyone's different, but you should be back to it. So if you haven't got it done, you're apprehensive about it. My experience, very minimal pain, a little bit awkward given the situation, but really nothing to worry about, nothing that painful again. Like the worst of the pain was probably 1 out of 10. Um, Maybe I have a high pain tolerance. It just wasn't that bad. Recovery so far, I took Advil once when I got home yesterday because it felt as though things were starting to hurt. But it may have just been that the numbing was wearing off, and I haven't had any since. I haven't had to ice anything. So if you're worried about it, don't be. It was pretty seamless, pretty easy. I could have got this done years ago and had not put it off for so long. So there's that. You guys probably didn't think you'd be getting medical advice on our midweek recordings, especially with regard to vasectomies, but you do. It's just another benefit of this podcast. We are well rounded, we are diverse, dynamic, and we will talk all things life, contraception, tools, business, mental health, whatever it is. We will talk about it here. We're not afraid of talking about anything. So if you guys don't want to talk about that, you can fast forward through it. Let's see. So this blog post, I recently, probably a month or so, maybe longer, got the new Festool KFC 60 EB cordless miter saw, and I've had some time to put it through the paces. This seltzer is really good, by the way. I like coconut flavored things. I had some time to put it through the paces. For a long time, I had a Makita. I mean, I still have it. A Makita LS0714. It's a 7.5-inch corded miter saw. It was one of my first miter saws I got because I couldn't fit a full size in my truck, my Tacoma, when I first went into business. Super light, super portable, very accurate, very tight. But at this point, it's 12 years old or so, and it just was tired. I really didn't think that I had a need for a cordless miter saw, or that it would even come in that convenient until I got this miter saw. I never found the cording to be such an issue or a hassle, but I also hadn't really realized that I don't necessarily need to bring that saw inside, or find a cord to plug it in, or find a specific place that I need to work. So what I've been using it for mostly is when I have to make 1 or 2 cuts on a job, and rather than bring it back to my workplace or wheel my Capex in or carry my Makita miter saw into the job site or closer to where I'm working, I can just bring my work piece out to the truck, which I guess I could do with a quarter miter saw too. But normally, it's by the time you get the stand out, get the miter saw out, set it up, find an electrical cord, or an outlet, extension cords, extractors, all of that stuff. You might as well just bring it close to where you're working. Excuse me here for a second. So, um, that being said, I've had a couple of jobs recently where I'm going in, I'm installing 1 or 2 pieces of trim, installing a door, installing a built-in where I have mostly panel work, casework, and then a couple pieces of molding, and it just doesn't make sense to set up a full-size saw. And I pulled this out, I put it on the back bumper of my truck or in the back of my truck, and I made the cuts that I needed to without needing a cord, without needing an extractor. Um, Really made life a lot easier for me, and I had not realized it until I got this saw. But if you're in the market for a secondary saw, right, you have your full size saw, and then you have a secondary saw that I like to use. Like I use the Makita a lot of times if I have one or two cuts, or after I get a job down, if it's a lot of times in basements and we're using an LVT flooring, and then I'm going back after paintwork's done, after the floor's installed, and just installing quarter round or shoe molding, I'll bring that down because I can put it right on the floor and work with it. It's super light, it's super easy. And the bigger saws that you've been beveling and cutting different moldings, the throat plate on that gets so big that the small returns on quarter round and shoe molding end up flying out of them. So with the smaller saws, a lot of times I can get away without having a zero clearance insert on them. So that's what I typically use it for. And this saw works great for that. And the benefit of not having a cord, not needing a cord, I can pull it wherever I need to in a basement and cut the trim that I need and not have to worry about tripping over a cord, moving a cord, sweeping up around a cord, just little stuff that you don't realize is a nuisance, and it is. So if you're in the market, I really do like this saw. It's a great saw. Really nothing to complain about it, nothing major. But I'm going to go through that. First off, got the saw. I purchased saws before and they weren't flat, they weren't square, they were not tuned properly, and I've had to go through and spend a lot of time fussing with a brand new saw to get it to cut square, to cut your bevel accurate, all the gauges, the detents, everything being out of whack. I didn't have to do that with this saw. It was pretty perfect right out of the box. Little bit of tweaking, but not much time spent on that. So that was nice for me because it's very frustrating to spend a lot of money on a new saw and then have to mess with it to try and get it to perform the way that you want to. It's cordless. Obviously, you're going to be concerned about power and longevity of batteries. So, uh, I've been using as much as I've used this. I'm not sure if I have recharged the batteries, and I'm not using it all day long, but it's been sitting in my truck for 4 to 6 weeks, and I've used it a handful of times on each job, and I still have battery life. Um, I'm not using this to cut pressure treated lumber, massive framing lumber. I'm sure that you could, but that's not what I would use this saw for. So, from a power perspective, I cut everything from 2x4s, MDF, plywood, pre-finished plywood, um, PVC exterior trim. I've cut poplar moldings and pine moldings. So everything that I would use this saw for, and it has not hiccuped, it hasn't bogged down, it hasn't shown any signs of straining. So it definitely has power. Another concern with saws like this, typically when you're going to battery powered, they're going to put a thinner blade on there with a thinner curve to in order to be able to cut through the material because it's not corded and preserve battery life. They don't want a massive curve on the saw that's going to draw power, but you get a straighter cut because it's not going to deflect it and have any deflection with the blade. Um, Slides on the rails well. All the detents are solid. They click in where you want them. It's easy. A lot of saws, sometimes the bevel adjustment is such a pain in the ass. This one's easy. I really like the bevel adjustment on the standard Capex too, but very easy to get into and using the saw and getting a rhythm. Um, so I haven't had any issues. I'm curious to see how long the batteries will last, not from a recharge standpoint, but just longevity. I take care of my tools. So my other saw I've had for 12 years. My Capex I've probably had for 8 years, 7 or 8 years. I just don't beat them up that much. I like to take care of them. So I've had other manufacturers cordless tools that just get tired and the batteries get tired, or the tool doesn't hold a charge. The batteries don't hold a charge. So I'm curious longevity wise how long they'll hold up. I do have other cordless Festool tools on that platform that have lasted a long time and haven't been an issue. So I really don't expect anything otherwise. One thing that I like about the Festool cordless is the batteries do last a really long time. Their tools last a long time, longer than any other of the platforms that I've used, and they recharge so fast. Um, I don't know what it is, but you can throw a battery on there and it'll be charged in minutes. So if you don't have a ton of batteries, you can recharge them pretty quickly. That being said, if you're using a cordless miter saw for more than just punch list work or small jobs, and it's going to be a primary or see a lot more use, I would invest in a second set of batteries just so that you have batteries charged. Um, and you don't have downtime with that. The saw has a pretty good depth capacity as far as what it can cut with boards, similar to my Makita, um, probably close to 12 inches. I'm not going to put all the specs on here. You guys can look that up on your own. I just feel like that's um, it. You can look those specs up on your own. That's just me regurgitating facts online that I don't think serves much value to you when there's no gray area there. I can't put a judgment on that. So, um, the when you use the bevel, which I feel is indicative of a lot of miter saws, it does become difficult when you're working with shorter pieces with how much of a bevel capacity, right? It's a double-edged sword because it has good bevel and miter capacity, but sometimes it's so steep that it's difficult to hold your workpiece and cut at the same time without clamping it down. I don't think that this is unique to this Capex. I would say that I know that I ran into it with my Makita too. It's just such a smaller capacity saw that you don't have as much room as, say, a 12-inch or a 10-inch saw, where the head of that saw moves a lot more. So that's something to consider just with buying a smaller saw in general. Again, I don't think that that is unique to Festool, but really easy to set the saw up, super light. um, the sliding to unclick and get access to the sliding ability of the saw. It's one switch. The headlock is one switch. The detents, again, super easy right up front. The bevels in the back, clear to see the angles. You can go past the 45 by just pressing a button. Um, Really easy to use, super light. I really like the portability of this saw, and given its size, the capacity of this saw. Um, I don't I wouldn't use this as a primary saw, right? If you don't have a miter saw, I think that a corded miter saw is indispensable. I think that this gets to, you're at the point in your career where you want to make your life a little bit easier, or you do punch out work, or you do handyman work, or you're working a lot of jobs where maybe you're doing repair work outside and moving around the house, and you don't necessarily have an outlet or electrical to tap into. This is a really good saw for that. Um, but all in all, it's the portability of this saw is very easy. It's very nice. It's similar to my Makita, which I love because I could grab it with one hand, bring it to wherever I was working. That being said, the depth of this saw, I think, is close to 12 inches that it can cut a board, and the Makita was similar, maybe 11 and a quarter, but the Makita was far less balanced than this saw. The Makita seems really long, right? The rails on it were really long, and that's where you got all of this depth and cut adjustment there. And this saw seems way more compact and not as long and imbalanced as the Makita. So when I would use the Makita, if you didn't clamp the Makita down, it would wobble all over the place just because it was really narrow. But then the rails were so long that sliding the head of the saw back and forth, like the cutting part of the saw, would really make this saw imbalanced. And it did have one of those adjustable feet on the front of your miter adjustment. But if you had that down, you really couldn't slide that miter back and forth without dragging on your table. Um, so the Festool saw is way more compact and way more balanced. So if you're at full extension on that saw, full bevel, full miter, it's not wobbling. It doesn't feel imbalanced. It doesn't feel dangerous. And the Makita was definitely not that balanced. It was a little bit sketchy. It needed to be either clamped or screwed down to prevent it from moving around or shifting. Even just swinging the miter back and forth, the saw was the base of the saw and the deck of the saw was so narrow and shallow that it would just move around. And this saw is way more planted. When you move that around, the saw's not shifting around every which way. So that's pretty nice. I don't have it. I have a stand for it. I don't have it on a stand right now. My other saw's on a stand. I like. I have a little spot in my van right now that it doesn't require any strapping of the tool. It doesn't require anything locking into place. It's just built around the shape of the saw, so I can lift it, drop it in there. Um, so that I literally can just go pull the saw out, use it, put it back in its locked position, and drop it in. And I'm not rolling a stand out, setting up wings. I do like the Festool stand and wings. If I were a full time trim carpenter, I would probably use something more robust and deeper, which you could alter the Festool wings. I also they sell um, attachment pieces that fit the Festool that you could make that fit the Capex that you can make your own wings. But the wheeled stand is very nice. It's super easy to use. The saw sets up in no time with the stand. Um, and for what I do, being that I'm doing a few days of trim work, it's a really nice, easy stand. Again, if I was just a trim carpenter, I'd probably want at least wings that were more robust. But the stand is nice, and it may seem expensive, but it comes down to it. It's like if I were to buy everything that I needed to make the stand and the time to make the stand, uh, it's a wash. I don't know. I probably just buy the stand like I did the first time. So that's something to consider. The only thing that I have not gotten used to on the saw, and this may be because my muscle memory is just in place from using the standard Capex that has a lock on the top and then a button to start the blade, right? It's also corded, so you couldn't just have somebody walk up to it if it was in your truck and turn it on. Maybe they have an extra safety on the cordless tool, and this is also the case with a bunch of cordless tools. I remember getting my rear handle Makita and not being used to using the circular saw, not being used to use that because of the safety on it. Once I got used to it and created that muscle memory, I don't really think about it anymore. I actually haven't thought about it until right now. But with this saw, you have to push a button on the top of it. Then that allows you to drop the head of the saw down. And then on the side of the handle, there's another button, and that allows you to squeeze the trigger and turn the saw on. So if I were to slow down long enough and just think about what I was doing and develop the habits for using the saw, it's very easy. You just have to put your hand on there. Once you drop that head down, then you push the button and squeeze the trigger. But I think I'm just so used to using my other Capex that you can just push that button and then squeeze the trigger. And I do it all in one motion that I keep trying to do that and the head's still locked in and then I can't get to the button on the handle. I think that it's one of those things that I would, if I just slowed down long enough to develop the habit of using the saw, that it wouldn't be an issue. But that's the only funky thing right now, and it's a safety issue, so I really shouldn't be complaining about it. And I do think that I can develop a habit of using the saw that it's a non-issue. But again, I have about a month of use on the saw, and that's the only thing that stands out to me that I haven't really gotten used to. Other than that, right out of the box, the saw is light, very portable, has enough power. Battery life is great. It's accurate, smooth. Dust collection, if you hook an extractor up to it, great. As far as just an off the shelf dust collection, it works great. Same thing with my other Capex. Is it perfect? No. Is any dust collection perfect? No. I think you could create something that were more robust. There's other products out on the market that are more robust, but for picking this up off the shelf or the standard Capex off the shelf, not touching anything and hooking it up to an extractor, it does a great job of collecting a lot of the airborne dust and the medium-sized sawdust and a lot of the larger sawdust too. Um, it comes with a bag that's a nice bag. It's for portability purposes, right? I try and use an extractor as much as I can because I have terrible lungs, but the whole point of this saw is to be quick and easy to set up and not have power. So using the bag is going to be better than nothing. Using an extractor is much better. The bag works. It works okay, which is pretty standard when you don't have anything drawing. It's essentially relying on the energy and the force created from the blade spinning sawdust backwards. So it catches as much as you would expect it to. Is it better than not having anything on? Yeah, take it off and use the saw and see how much sawdust shoots out of there. But it's not better than using an extractor. Um, so all in all, I'm happy with this miter saw. Um, I think it's a great saw if you need a secondary miter saw. Definitely not your primary saw. It's earned a permanent spot in my van. I don't have every tool that I own in my van. I do like to have two miter saws in my van, one larger, one smaller. This has usurped my Makita LS0714. I'm sorry, I had you for 12 years. We had a really wonderful run together, but you're not serving me the way that you used to. You got a little bit tired, and this saw has taken over. So, as with all the rest of my Festool tools, comes with a great warranty. It's tight, it's solid, it's well built, it's heavy duty. I don't expect to have any problems with it, but if I do, I'll circle back and I will update you guys. But I just want to get on here and give you my ideas as to this saw. It was a tool that I was pretty excited about getting. At this point, I'm not like super excited about getting a ton of tools, spending money on tools, buying tools. I just I'm a little bit past that point in my career, but I was excited to get this tool. And it's proven its weight, and again, it's earned a full-time spot in my van. So I just want to get on here and let you guys know my thoughts about it, how it compared to other small saws, what I think about a cordless platform, and that I'm using it now. And I do like the saw. So hopefully that helps you guys out. I had a few people reach out to me and ask me what I thought of it, and I just hadn't had enough time on the saw to give you an honest answer. But this should be pretty comprehensive and pretty honest. If there's anything that I run into or anything that comes to mind after this podcast, I'll hop on my Instagram and post it to there. I probably won't update this blog post or this podcast. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me too. But yeah, I love the saw. It's earned a full-time spot in my van. And truth be told, since getting this saw, I've used this saw more than my regular Capex because I've gotten lazy and not wanted to pull my full setup out, get the extractor out, plug that in, get the cord out. There's still if I had to choose one, I like my corded Capex just because of um, the size, the capacity, and I'm used to it. But for day to day quick jobs, for setting up for a shoe molding in a basement, for some punch list stuff, this saw is going to be tough to beat. So I hope this helps you guys out. If you have questions, reach out to me. Um, and that should be it. Again, if you have questions about the vasectomy too, I will I'm more than willing to tell you my experience. But really, I think more than anything else, it's just like, hey, if you're apprehensive about this and your wife's been on you to get it done, or she doesn't want to be on contraception or birth control anymore, um, don't be afraid to go do it. It's easy. Maybe take a couple days off from work. You have some downtime. Get to some paperwork. Catch up on things. Sit on the couch. Watch some Netflix. I caught up on some motocross racing and some weird Netflix documentaries last night when I couldn't sleep. But don't be afraid. Go do it. Hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. As everything else, thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to you guys. Hop online. Give us a review. Some 5-star reviews. I mean, they don't have to be 5-star. We love the 5-star reviews. If you have an issue and you don't want to leave a good review, reach out to us first. Shoot me an email, tyler@trghomeconcepts.com. Voice your concerns to me. I'll see what I can do to change them and fix them. But as always, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the sharing, the following along what you guys are doing, and make sure that you check out our sponsors. We have Builder Trend, Anderson. Without this, it wouldn't be a free podcast, and they afford us an ability to take time away from our day-to-day jobs and record these midweeks and the regular recordings of the podcast. So I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks.